Hello. I hope everything is working. I am so scared of it happening. Again, the same thing that happened before on the last episode of Trauma Llamas and Pajamas, but I think everything is good. Um, and have no fear, the other llama is here. Uh, she is here. I'm going to introduce Claire from Ethical Tailor, the Ethical Tailor, actually. So here she is, Claire. Oh, wait, the other side.
Hello.
Here she is. Oh God. So,
I've got a I've got a pet deer that I
oh,
can match up with your
it's
llama.
so cute. It's adorable. So, for those of you who don't know Claire, please, Claire, be our guest and tell us a little bit about you. Where do you come from? What do you do?
Oh gosh. Right. So my name's Claire. I'm from London. Well, I live in London in the UK. Originally from North Essex. And I have a channel on YouTube called The Ethical Tailor. I am a tailor by trade, and I make, alter, repair, and teach sewing skills. I am very much against fast fashion. So there is a segment that I do with Whitney where we talk about the dark side of fast fashion. And yeah, I'm here for the climate, for the against climate change, and yeah, that's it really. I don't know what else to say.
Well, here you have Claire's name, full name. Well, not full name, but first and last, and the channel. You can go to at the Ethical Tailor, and be sure to subscribe because her content is awesome, and you can learn so much about a lot of stuff related to fashion, ethical tailoring, and fabric, and just anything that has to do with human rights, animal rights, just anything. She's just awesome. You guys need to subscribe to her, like right now.
Ah, thank you. And sometimes you can just watch me sew.
Yes, yes. Also that you can also learn the basics of tailoring if you guys are curious. Also to see how do clothes get made. What work has been put into doing all the awesome things you guys buy or see in fashion shows, for example. It's all made with the artistry of people, professionals like Claire. So, no need to be humble, Claire. Just own it. Own
Sorry,
it.
I'm
Own
terrible at that.
it.
If that's what you say, that's fine. Thank you.
Own it, girl. So,
It depends. It depends who I'm talking to as to how much I put myself out there.
so, we are going to start also talking about the lockdown because it's one of the topics that, in private conversation with Claire, we kind of connected on that as well because we had similar lockdown experiences. And I think she can also bring some stuff to the table regarding that because although COVID and the COVID lockdown, it has been 3 years already, almost four. It left a lot of scars to a lot of people, and we never know when another lockdown or another virus or whatever can happen again. So it's always important to know what kind of skills and coping skills we can hold on to in situations where we feel a bit restrained and anxious in these types of situations. So, yeah. And go ahead, Claire.
Oh gosh. Okay, so yeah, lockdown was not the best for me. I was sort of working with different clients. I've heard a lot of different stories, but not many like mine directly. Though before it happened, you always hear these adverts of uh, sort of things happening in sort of couples DA sort of related. And I never kind of thought that would quite happen to me outside of a relationship, because I was living at the time with a friend and another girl that lived in our house, and it was due to this girl that every day from the so in the UK we had sort of lockdown restrictions from the Monday, and I can't even remember what date that was, some Monday, I think it was March, I can't even remember.
I think it was first week of March, something like that.
Yeah. And yeah, so I was setting up in our kitchen my laptop and things to do a Zoom session with a friend to bake some bread, because everyone was doing the sourdough bread, so we were going to do some focaccia. So I was like, you know, going back and forth from my bedroom to the kitchen, and sort of I would pass through the living room to get into the kitchen. And this particular girl was working from home already because she had asthma, so she was sort of quite vulnerable. And at the time I'd already been working for myself in my business since the November 2019. So, you know, obviously I got to like lockdown, so I can't, you know, I've got no, I wasn't sort of like a crucial worker sort of thing, so I had to just sort of stayed home. So yeah, so I was like setting up, and so she's kind of at the dining room table sort of doing some work. And although I was sort of going past, I didn't, you know, I made sure not to sort of make too much noise or anything, you know, sort of. But anyway, so I, and she'd already been a bit sort of kind of iffy with me before that. And she, one of the times of me sort of kind of going from my bedroom back to the kitchen, she came out of her bedroom on the phone to someone and was like, she's still effing here. Yes, in a tone that was like, she'd rather me dead, for better words. And you know, just sort of like the fact that I was kind of breathing was her issue.
What?
I came to realise. So I sort of went into the kitchen and was like, you know, sort of, I don't need anything else. And sort of text my friend and was just like, you know, I'm going to have to be quiet, because obviously I could sense what was possibly going to come. And yeah, so we sort of kind of did this little like bake along, left the focaccia bread in the fridge to set and everything, and I took everything back to my room, and sort of just sat in there for a while, because I was like, you know, I'm not allowed to go anywhere, so like, what am I meant to do? So I did that, and then I was like, you know, I can't sort of just sort of sitting here all day. And obviously we're allowed in the UK, we're allowed an hour of exercise a day.
Mm-hmm.
So I went out for a walk, and kind of to sort of, you know, understand like what the situation might be, because I was already thinking, stay, I've got to like make myself scarce. Like I can't be in the house, because again, you know, I'm not gonna just like, although sort of I didn't want to be a part of it, I was not gonna just like stay in my bedroom. I've got a work studio that is like sort of 30 minutes away, so I could go and walk there and just sort of like spend the day there, you know, sort of regardless of kind of what else was going to go on. I was like, you know, if someone else happens to be there, then we'll just sort of like kind of work out how to deal with that. But I was like, it was my only option. And yeah, you know, I've got nowhere else really to go. Like my parents were sort of doing building work, and obviously again it's that thing of you're not allowed to, you know, like sort of like leave. Like it's in the rules, it was sort of they wouldn't be able to like drive down and get me, sort of thing. And I was just like, didn't see it as that much of an issue, me going to my work studio. Anyway, so I got up like the next day and had my breakfast in my room, because already she was, it was probably about sort of, I kind of get up fairly early, so maybe about sort of 7:30, and she was already in the living room, clearly sort of making a bit of a point, what I sort of told myself. So I did some breakfast and had that in my bedroom, and then got washed and left, and I think I'd like left the house by like 9 a.m. And I did that every single day, not leaving my studio until at least 9 at night, so that I knew that they would be home. Because obviously my friend wasn't working from home at the time, so I just didn't feel safe. There was just like, the tone that she used on that very first day, I was just sensing this real sense of discomfort.
Of course, no one should be at their at the house they live, but that's supposed to be your safe space, and feel threatened and uncomfortable because she was trying to like intimidate you. Because she said that, and like for you to hear it on the first day, like she kind of.
It was loud and in my face. Like it was like as I was sort of coming. Actually, I think I was going from the kitchen back into my bedroom to get like one last thing, and she like sort of came out of her room as I was sort of coming, and was just like really like looked at me and just like said it so loud into like the phone. So I went to my studio. There was no one else there, and I, kind of, I can't even remember what I did like that first day. But throughout that sort of time, I was even making some clothes for myself. I did a bunch of the videos that you see on my YouTube channel, that are videos of me like sewing different things. I did those during that time. I wanted to actually, I was in a business group, and I actually wanted to start my YouTube channel then, like sort of doing lives and things, and sort of doing like sew along kind of things, and I did actually start my channel then, but I was so like told by everyone, or these like marketing people, like, why would you do YouTube? Because you're not being paid for it. Why give away your skills? Which I get, but equally now that I'm doing it, it's not the same as when I actually teach people. So it's that it just wouldn't work in that way. So anyway, so that's kind of what I was doing. I sort of did this whole elaborate project for myself, where I drew out loads of garments in sort of illustration form, but what we call flats in the industry. And they were for this whole project that I was going to put on my website to help people make their own garment, which has never come to fruition, because then when I started telling people, they were like, oh, that will like cost a lot of money to sort out. So I've just sort of like never sorted it out. And obviously my alteration business picked up again after lockdown, so it was not sort of major priority for me. But so that was that. And then come the weekends, so that I would do that like during the week, and then come the weekends I would stay at home to try and sort of rest my legs, because I didn't quite realize it sort of over sort of like the first couple of weeks, but after that it's actually quite a strain on your legs walking back and forth sort of like that often. And because then when I would stay home at the weekends, because obviously my friend was there. You know, I kind of felt it was a bit safer because she was around. She could at least sort of witness stuff.
Yeah, the other one wouldn't have the audacity to do something with two people there.
You would think, you would think.
Oh.
So, so I would start cooking something, and she would whip like frying pans out of my hands, saying that they were hers. And we definitely had a frying pan in the house when me and my friend moved in. But I was like very confused because obviously, you know, we'd only already been there like a year and a half before she joined us. So I couldn't kind of remember. Yeah, so and it was just like this like weird thing of sort of almost like shock that she'd even like the audacity to do that.
Yeah, like if you're
That I
living
kind of
with
couldn't
someone,
react.
I mean, I thought
Yeah.
there's like a sort of community feel to it, especially when during lockdown, right? Because everybody's going through that same like anxiety and stress of what's going on here, right? Oh
Yeah,
gosh,
exactly.
Claire.
And it's you know, and it was very nice like when it was just me and my friend. Unfortunately, there's another like story which isn't like the biggest thing, but basically one of my friends was going to move in with us. That's why we got a 3-bed place. We
Mm-hmm.
were originally just going to get a 2-bed. So then it was, and then that friend pulled out last minute, and unfortunately my friend's living situation previous was not the best. So we had, so like sort of she was like, oh, like we need to go ahead with it because her previous like landlord was being really rude to her about, you know, like even if like she had to stay there like another couple of weeks, he was like, no, like there's no room. Basically, he was moving in a wife, and it was all that sort of thing. She's Bangladeshi, and they were kind of similar backgrounds. So yeah, it was like all really, you know, sort of could have been handled in a way that like we didn't have to go ahead, but anyway, we had to. So yeah, so then we always had this like 3rd bedroom that we had to find someone for. But anyway, so yeah, so she would whip frying pans out of my hand, slam doors, get the Hoover out and start hoovering. She had this whole thing as well as like sort of time went on that like I wasn't cleaning the place, and I was like, you're not allowing me to be here. And you know, I don't really feel comfortable,
Yeah.
and you know, even if I do, you're like making it such an issue that I'm even here. So quite frankly, why should I even clean? You know, like I'm cleaning the places that I use, the bathroom, around the kitchen, but I'm not going to go, you know, sort of doing all these other bits when, you know, sort of you're the one not allowing me to enjoy it, basically.
What did she say about when you said that?
That was all in text. Oh gosh,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
probably just sort of like kind of coming back at me like, you know, yeah, like sort of I should do it
That's
anyway.
that's so weird that like you were living together but she was texting you these things instead of just
There was a lot in like the group chat, yeah, that she would do, or she would just do it like to me personally. But it was quite funny because she would do a lot of it in the group chat, and I'm like, you know, so like obviously my friend like saw a lot of it. And my friend did eventually, when she started like working from home, so she started working from home about sort of 3 weeks into the lockdown. She was working at a law firm that was sort of linked to like government things, so
mm-hmm.
they didn't have to leave their office straight away. So yeah, so then when she started like sort of working from home more, and obviously sort of oh no, sorry, let me go back to the weekend. So the weekend, so when she would do this like sort of, I then sort of was like, well then I can't be here at the weekend, so I would go for long walks. Where I was living at the time was West Ferry, so I would walk up the canal up to Stratford
So you were
and just
just
like hang out.
walking all the time.
Yeah, so that's why it then eventually got quite tiresome on the legs.
Of
Yeah, if I wasn't
course.
walking up there, then I would like walk up to London Bridge, like along the canal, along the river, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
always kind of with this fear. So I would mostly go like along the canal because like I always had this fear of, you know, sort of like, what if I get caught? But then it also was like, what other choice do I have? So also with those that, you know, I would just go even at the weekends and just go and spend time at my studio, sort of anything to be out of the
So
house.
working was like it was your getaway. It was your refugee.
Yeah. Although, you know, like not that I was working, but it was my workplace
Workplace.
was a place of refuge. Yeah, like I said to everyone afterwards, like if I didn't have that, then I don't know what I would have done, you know, like sort of. So it's sort of, since all that, I've kind of had this thing that I wanted to start like a craft cafe, and for people, you know, that don't have anywhere else to go, that they can just like sort of rock up and kind of partake in sort of some nice refreshing, sort of mind stimulating in sort of a positive way crafts. But yeah, so when I would do all that, yeah, sort of kind of until a point where then sort of kind of I felt really tired. So then I would try and spend a weekend at home. You know, maybe it's like nice and sunny outside. So then I and sitting out in the garden. Again, bang, crash. You know, I was like on a Zoom with some other friends out in the garden one time, and all I could hear was just banging and crashing.
So she was seeking drama.
It's so much. And I would say, even like to them, I feel like I said sort of something about, oh, you know, sort of like, sorry if you can hear that or something like that. And they were like, no, can't hear nothing. And because obviously, you know, like sort of like she's so, you know, like I was only like in the back garden, and, you know, people obviously had like windows open and things like that. So I didn't feel like I could say anything. And I tried texting people, but it's kind of not the same. And I wasn't so into like voice notes back then. But even then, you know, obviously, like it's like I couldn't like voice it, because obviously in case like she heard that I'm like bitching about us or whatever. But yeah, I sort of put myself in this real kind of bubble of sort of, yeah, what else would happen. Yeah, and then things kind of, and my friend was like, you know, sort of said to me like that she could see the abuse, and like that she was like really sorry. And I said like, I really, like, I want to have her out. I said, you know, I can't deal with this. And she was like, because like she'd said previously, you know, like, oh, but she's not doing anything to me. And I was just like, well, you know, so does that really matter? Like,
I mean,
so yeah, so then things kind of sort of calmed down, although I still like was going to my studio every day. I was just like in total, like I'd just been avoiding. So I was, you know, I was having, apart from my breakfast in the morning, I was having all of my meals at the studio. So it was all microwave meals or salads, because obviously it was the summer. So yeah, not the best for the body.
I mean,
I try and sort of be picky with my microwave meals, and obviously I can't have tomatoes, so I have to be picky like that. But, you know, sort of like trying to get like the less fat, the less sugar and all that, but or salt rather. But obviously, you know, they're microwave meals at the end of the day. So it went on so far, and I think it was the end of June. It was a Sunday, and
so that was like over 4 months.
And I was feeling really happy, and I went home early. I think I potentially got home for about sort of like 5, 6-ish. Yeah, probably about 6-ish actually, because I was like, oh, you know, I'll go home and I'll sort of cook something. Didn't sort of know what I had in the fridge or anything, and I got in, heard them two talking, and I sort of put my stuff down in my room, and then went through. The door was sort of pushed close for the living room, so I walked through, and my friend's laughing, and she sort of looks at me and smiles and is laughing. So I sort of look at her, and I'm, I'm feeling really good, and I laugh and I smile at her to sort of go along with it, because
Yeah.
it's a bit weird if I just don't say anything. I think it's sort of like, you don't, like,
Yeah.
someone doesn't like smile and laugh at
Yeah,
you
you didn't want to like make
in
the
like a friendly way, and then like you just go, oh, sort of like ignore it kind of thing. So I
yeah.
sort of joined in. I went then into the kitchen, and the girl turned around and she goes, "This is a private conversation," again in that tone. And I opened up the fridge door. I just went, okay, and sort of smiled to myself. And I closed the fridge door. I had like nothing in there, even like sort of, and I hadn't even brought anything home. I just sort of, kind of wasn't thinking about it, because I was just in this happy thing of like,
Yeah.
oh, like I'm gonna go home and actually like cook some food. And then like she did that, and I was like, oh, so I closed the door, and then walked back out and closed the living room door behind me. And then sort of was walking to my bedroom, and she, oh my God, she comes storming out. Don't you slam that door in my face. And I was
What?
thinking, well, like, you were in the kitchen. And B, I didn't slam it. I was just closing it because it was closed
Yeah,
on my way in.
she has real issues.
So many issues.
Yeah, I can tell.
And I don't know, like what she's gone through, and to be honest, she would say a lot of stories about her family and
Yeah,
things,
but
but to be honest, it got to a point where I was like, is that even true? Just because everything in her life seemed to be a drama. But and she drinks a lot. She is a deputy head of a teacher, but still, as I said to everyone, I don't think that's really an excuse for treating someone the way that she treated me.
no, I mean there is no amount of abuse that someone can go to through that can justify someone treating other people like shit. Like people often like to excuse others because oh they went through a lot. No, like that I learned that the hard way, and I mean there is no excuse for someone that goes through shit to put others in that same position because it just means the person lacks empathy. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
because like a lot of people really do have dramatic lives, but then it's like you should if her life was that bad, like, I mean, maybe it was that bad, back home, but then there's another reason for you to actually be grateful that you're in a house living with people that are not dramatic and that just want peace. Why are you going to instigate as well? Then that just makes you one of them, you know?
Exactly. And before she came to us, I'd seen a Facebook post that she'd put in like the sort of local area to us, saying that she was being sort of evicted because her landlord was selling the place that she was in. And with all this drama, I was like, was he really evicting you? Was he really like selling, kind of thing?
Yeah.
So like sort of I allowed her in, which was also another thing that when we get to it, my friend sort of almost used against me, which is kind of, like,
Your friend,
losing
you
her
wait.
friendship is like the hardest thing for me.
Your friend used you wanting to stand up for yourself
Um,
as an issue?
yeah.
So she's not really friend.
So, well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which I've only just come to that
Yeah.
realization. There was a podcast that I was listening to, and actually with oh shoot, now I've forgotten her name. The lady that does some streams with Liz, also got a TikTok. Oh my
Oh,
gosh, no,
I think,
sorry.
did you send it to me? Was that the one you sent to me?
No, that
No,
wasn't that.
no. Oh,
Um, oh my gosh. Yeah, but anyway, yeah. So she did a podcast with someone, and who was talking about a friendship that she sort of lost, and and in that she said, they're not a real friend, and I was like, like I've been like mourning it a long time because it was like a friendship that I'd had for a little while.
Yeah, how long?
But like sort of
How long were you friends?
So we used to
Before.
work together at Monsoon. So that was like as long as I've been in London practically. So like nearly 8, 9 years.
Oh.
Oh, actually, no, sorry. Back then it would have been 7 years.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, we make up excuses for people because it's too hard to like realize that some people they're just not who we thought they were, like who they showed up as in the first place. And then we kind
yeah,
of want to
exactly.
ignore the signs because for
Yeah,
so many
and also
reasons.
like because like all my blame wanted to go on like the other girl, but it's sort of like like if that's how like she's going to treat me as a friend as well. But yeah, it's because like when this girl, like when she opened up the door and was like shouting at me about slamming it, like obviously I shouted back, and I was just like, I said, like I didn't slam it. I said, it was already shut.
But even so, just a side note. Sorry for interrupting, but
Yeah,
even
that's all
if you
right.
had slammed the door, she was not in a position to complain about it because she was doing that all the time. So it's like
Yeah, exactly.
that's the thing. It's like you don't like when people behave to you the way you behave to others. Hmm.
Mm,
I mean,
yeah.
that's very narcissistic. I mean, people are gonna start thinking that I just like to classify everyone as a narcissist,
Yeah.
but I mean, there are a lot of them out there, and one of the reasons that most people don't actually like get diagnosed as a narcissist is because a narcissist rarely goes to a doctor, like to a therapist, and says, I have issues. I think I'm a narcissist. Like, no. If they go to therapy, it's because they feel like they're victims and they go to therapy to complain, and even the therapist will often not realize that they're the problem because they fool everyone with their victim mentality, because they're mostly not aware, and when they are, they're kind of like, I don't care, fuck it.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, that sounds, very much like someone that just wants to be the victim and didn't want peace, and like someone that doesn't want to live in peace, like drama free, someone that likes the drama, like is very bored of their lives, and that's not,
Yeah.
you know. But
Yeah, exactly.
you were saying like about your friend that like you realized it, but how long did it take for you to like actually realize it afterwards?
Well, sorry, that she wasn't a true friend.
Yeah, yeah.
So that literally just like recently. So this podcast,
Oh,
what I listened, I probably heard like within a couple of months ago. So until then, like I've been mourning her friendship ever since. So this day when the incident with like the major shouting. Um so I basically said, sort of that I didn't slam it, sort of I was just like closing it shut because it was already shut. And then I went into my room, and she shouted back and was like, I can't remember again what she said. And then I said something like, sort of, you don't have to stay here, like, you can leave. And she was like, I shouldn't have to leave, you should have to leave. And I was like,
you.
well, not really. But then my comeback was, so are you going to pay my rent? Like sort of, because I'll happily go anywhere other than this stupid situation.
Right.
I would rather be anywhere else. So
I mean, you were
whatever.
going anywhere else. You were
Yeah, literally.
literally leaving where you lived because
Oh,
someone was making you feel uncomfortable in the place you were living for longer. So, like, that was already.
yeah. So and she was like, yeah, like sort of, I'll pay your rent kind of thing. And I went, that's fine. I said, I'll be on to the landlord kind of thing, because I mean he'd been rubbish the whole time, because I had been trying to say to him, sort of, if I move out, even like previous to her saying that, I was like, if I move out, you know, sort of will I still get my deposit and things like that. But he was just like absolute rubbish and just wasn't even acknowledging or was like being like, oh, I'm not getting involved in conflicts. And I'm like, I'm not involving you, I'm just asking you a simple question. And yeah, and the whole time my friend was watching.
Yeah, that I was gonna ask, like during even that altercation with her telling you to slam the door, like you slammed the door and whatever, your friend was just sitting there?
So she was like standing like where she was, so sort of like kind of behind this girl in the living room. And it's the thing that sort of beat me up for so long about it, because I'm like, I can understand if she was scared, you know, because this girl was fucking going for me. And, you know, it might have just been verbally, but still.
I mean, verbal.
I went into my room and I was shaking.
Of course.
And I texted my friend and was like, let me know when the kitchen's free, so I could do some dinner. And then I was just like sort of shaking so much that I put some bits in a bag and walked out the door, because I was just like, I just can't sort of stay in there.
Did you lock your bedroom door?
I've never ever had that feeling.
Sorry to interrupt. Did you used to lock your bedroom door every time you left?
We didn't have locks.
Oh crap. So
yeah, that was even like sort of the worst thing, like during this whole thing.
Right, because you have
even at night. So like even like previous to this, like even at night, I sort of had this like weird thing about, I don't know, like her coming in
obviously
to my room and doing something.
Yeah.
Also, there was also a weird point as well before this where, so she would like sort of, me and my friend, so before she moved in, me and my friend sort of had like a sofa each kind of thing. And then when this girl moved in, you know, the sofa that I had was like the bigger sofa. So I would, you know, obviously sort of, I'd never really lay down on it anyway, but I would, you know, like make room for her to be on there. So my friend had the slightly smaller one.
She took over.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah. So then, like, I didn't have anywhere to sit. So then I would just like sit at the dining room.
She wouldn't scooch over?
No.
You're joking.
She would literally, she was a big
I'm sorry
lady,
to laugh,
but she would literally lay down and take the whole thing up. So then it got to a point where then my friend would like invite me, you know, like again, like the days that I would be at home, like sort of like the weekends or whatever, the odd weekend I would try and stay at home. She would invite me to sit on her sofa, you know, very nice. But, you know, like I was just like, this really like, is so stupid.
Yeah. Like...
And then like sort of this girl would come out like sort of talking really loud on the phone or banging, crashing. And I'd say to my friend, you know, I said, that's because we're talking. I said, you know, I'm going to have to go. And my friend's like, no, don't, you know, like, it's not because of that. And then like she'd come out like into like the living room, like talking really loud on her phone. And she'd be like, no, it's just, you know, that she's got bad signal or whatever. And then she did it one time where she came out in her underwear.
The girl?
And a t-shirt, this girl. And because people had kind of said before, when I did start to like sort of tell people, they were like, well, like maybe she fancies you.
Oh my
when,
God.
Like I would say about this, because she'd also, previous to lockdown, she would randomly ask me if I was gay every now and then, and I'd be like, where do you get that impression? And also like,
what?
You know, even if I was, no thank you, but I was just like, it was so bizarre because she would always go on about how she liked big black guys. So I don't even know. But yes, and then there was this one time when she came out in her underwear, and I was just like, I just said to my friend, I said, I can't, I'm gonna go. That's how I went out. But yeah, so you know, there was like all this sort of like weirdness. So yeah, so it like, I don't know. It was just a whole weird time.
I mean, so before the lockdown and everything, she was like, just like kind of.
She was still really weird then, yeah.
But
like,
she would be weird and flirting with you at the same time. So
Sorry.
she was
I was
like
talking over.
weird with you, but she was basically, let's call people by their names. She was a cunt, and she
Yeah,
was
yeah.
also kind of trying to understand what your sexual orientation was.
Yeah, for God knows what.
But
So,
she was
like,
into big black guys too.
people since have like said that she probably fancied me, but I just think my personal thing is she was jealous of me and my friend's friendship, and she, I don't know, was trying to find some sort of way into being as close to me, and I was just like, I just never had. She was a housemate. I don't need to be friends with
I mean,
housemates,
that's a
sort of.
very weird way to be friends with someone. Like, rule number one,
Yeah.
treat them like shit. Number two, um, just destroy their self-esteem. That's a really good way. I don't know what kind of friendships these people build, but the
Mm.
foundations are very toxic. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's during all that time that I started like listening to podcasts, and sort of Chris Shelton was one of the ones, and like obviously at the time it was sort of really maybe sort of understand the situation that I was going through, and then sort of I found like Leah Remini and things like that,
mm-hmm.
and yeah, but then
And that's how you sort of
yes, then
got into the, that sounds weird, but that's how
yeah.
you started. Okay, let me rephrase this. That's how you started listening to things associated with the SPTV community.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then it was sort of only took the other year when I was sort of searching for stuff on YouTube because I couldn't find Mike and Leah anywhere. Um, but yeah, so with that, going back to that day where she shouted at me
Yeah.
so much. So I put like a few bits in a bag, and sort of walked out with just the thing that I was just shaking. I just felt so unsafe being at home. Um, well, being at that home anyway.
Yeah. I'm sorry about
That
that.
I had to, yeah, I just had to get out of there.
Of course.
And then as I am walking down the street, I get a text from my friend saying, "No one's stopping you from being in the kitchen." And I just burst out crying. Um, and this is why I mourn that friendship, because, like she was there, she witnessed what happened. And I just couldn't believe that would be her reaction. And as I was walking, like sort of the river was there, and because I have a friend that lives on near Canary Wharf, so I was almost sort of like going around to her. She was divorcing her husband during this time, so she had a flat to herself and her 2 kids, so she was the only person that I kind of was like, I could maybe go there. But I looked over down the river at Tower Bridge, and all I thought was, I wish I could jump off and just have it all end.
Oh.
And not because I wanted to die.
Oh,
I just
Claire.
didn't know a way out. And it's and it's so, it's just like a really kind of weird feeling. I've only had it once before. But this time, like when I had it before, it was more of like a longer term sort of depression thing,
Yeah.
whereas this was like such an instant feeling of sort of, yeah, I just didn't know. I didn't know, like
Yeah.
lockdown had gone on so long by then,
Yeah,
and
it's like a
just
tornado of
couldn't see a way
emotions.
out. Yeah.
It's a lot. Like, now looking back, maybe you would have thought differently, right? But in that moment, like, it just seems like you kind of kind of floating through the air, like not really knowing what the hell's going on.
And literally, it was like that. It was like I was walking, but I couldn't feel myself walking. Yeah, it's like weird, like you say,
Yeah.
that sort of float. And I was big crying. Like I couldn't even hide that I was crying. There was quite a lot of people
Oh
around,
God.
all having
If
their
I was there, I
evening
would have hugged
exercise
you.
in couples, and I was just me, just bawling it through the middle of them all. And I couldn't even tell you if people were looking or not. And I like text my friend that was in her flat, and I was like, because I'd been talking to her about the situation, so she knew what was going on, and I'd been round like sort of a couple of times before this, but yeah, we sort of like class each other as like our sort of bubble, and yeah, so I said, like, could I come round, and like something big has happened, and that, like I hadn't had any dinner, like could I sort of cook something at hers. So yeah, so I went to like the supermarket that's sort of underneath her flat, and grabbed a pizza and went up, and a bottle of wine, because she was like bringing extra bottle of wine.
Pizza and wine, the solution to all
Literally.
problems.
Yeah, so I stayed there until about 11:30, and she was like, yeah, I kind of need to go to bed now, because obviously she's got like 2 kids, so they'd be up in the morning. And I was like, that's fine. Yeah, so I went home, and like she was really good, like sort of it was obviously I felt safe whilst I was with her, and
Yeah, I'm glad that
although I was a bit sort of
you had like that shoulder.
trepidatious about, yeah, and
That's
although I was a
good.
bit like trepidatious about going home, obviously by that time I was like, no one would be up. Oh, but then the next morning was like a whole other thing, and in my crying as well, like, and sort of kind of thinking about this bridge, I had also put a status on my Facebook about wanting to jump off a bridge. So the next day,
Oh,
I'm at my studio, and more people are in the studio by this time. And I'd sort of been like telling them stuff that had happened and reactions, and this was like, like prior to this evening, I told people, that I was like there, like going there like every day, and I got even reactions of, well, you're not meant to leave, you weren't meant to like leave your house, and I was like,
yeah.
all right, but like I was going through this.
Oh, so
Like, sort of
people
like,
were trying to be moralistic with you.
yeah, and then they were also meant to be my friends, like
Oh,
sort of. Whereas like
oh
with like the
gosh.
studio manager was very happy that I was able to, sort of like kind of that I felt comfortable to go and like use the studio, because she was like, obviously it's a shit situation.
Yeah, I mean, what the hell?
Yeah. So
People don't see the warning signs. Like, even when they are told straight up what's going on, it's something that it's just it transcends. It's really unbelievable, because people think that bad things, like actually serious bad things, just happen, like abuse related, just happen like out of nowhere, or they're like very aggressive or something. Like people need to like actually try to like attempt to murder you to actually it be taken seriously, and they forget that it starts, usually even the physical abuse, it starts with the mental. It starts with trying to break you down. It starts with like these micromanaging things where people try to like micromanage you and like change your perspective on things, or make you feel like you're like taking up too much space. It's with those things. So that's the one thing, like for anyone that's listening and listening to Claire's like really like deep testimony of what happened to her, is if you have someone that you know, a friend, someone that is giving you signs that something is not going well in their surroundings or where they are in their own home, if they're talking about this, take it seriously. Don't just think it's, oh, it's just another, just another rant or just another, oh, I'm sorry. Like, people don't want to hear just, I'm sorry. Like, maybe they want to be offered solutions, or maybe they just want to know, like, if something happens, my door is open. Like, you can come over. Don't be alone. Or, I'll go there and help. People sometimes need that, like, practical help, not just that, like, pathetic text of, oh, I'm sorry you're going through that. Like, when we're going through bad stuff, we also need that practical help of, like, what exactly can be done in that situation. How could you protect yourself? And I'm sorry that you went through that, and, like, people tried to, like, be all fundamentalist with you about, like, COVID rules when you were literally just trying to get away from a mentally abusive, a psychologically abusive situation.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah.
So it just, I can't even wrap my head around it, because, like, you're such a sweet person. Like, you're just such a sweet, loving person. How could anyone want to shout at you and speak badly to you? Like, I can't even wrap my head around that. Because, like, just hug Claire. Like, how could someone want to shout to Claire? Give me her address. I'm gonna go there and beat her up. Road trip to London.
I would need. I don't
Claire.
even know. My friend doesn't even give me her real address anymore.
Doesn't give you what?
Her real address. So, like, the year after, I wanted to send her a Christmas card, like, sort of that winter.
Your friend,
2020.
the friend.
She gave me her brother's address
What?
when she was going to live with her brother. It was all a load of, and I was just like, that's kind of what sent me down the thing of, sort of, was I ever going to get that back as a friendship? But yeah, I totally believe this girl, like, manipulated her. Yeah, sort of, God knows what I was meant to have done, but
Yeah, but that's why, like, communication is key. Like, if you have a problem with someone, talk directly to them. Don't assume things, because, and also, is your friendship stronger than someone else's ability to manipulate it? Like, if you're that,
yeah,
if the bond that connects you and someone else is that fragile that just someone else's instigation can just break it, you know? And, like, I mean, you, I hope that although you went through all that, it, like, leaves you with a positive thought of, okay, like, don't ever, like, put yourself down psychologically, by letting, other people like, make you feel less than what you're worth, because, like, you're an awesome person, and, like, we've been chatting, like, out of this dream, and, like, I just know it, like, you're just a great person, super nice, loyal friend, so don't underestimate yourself. Like, a friend, we should not have to beg for a friendship. Like, if you have to beg for it, if you have to, like, win it over, try to get its attention, it's not real. And, like,
yeah, very true.
and, like, you're worth more than that. I'm saying that, but, it's advice. I'm talking to myself. I'm talking, like, to everyone, because, we all have that tendency, to do that. And,
Yeah,
and when I say, like, for the chat and anyone that's going to listen to this on replay or just in the podcast form of it or whatever, I just want to say, like, I don't say this lightly when I say that Claire is a really good person, because one of the things that really impresses me the most about Claire, one of the few things, is that in her channel, she also has, like, a buy me a coffee kind of thing, like, where you can donate money, but she doesn't take that money for herself. She has it on, like, you're gonna have to explain better, because I'm probably gonna, like, mess it up, but, like, a fund for people to, like, pay classes for people that can't afford it, like tailoring classes. But, like, explain it better,
yeah.
because I'm a bit of a derp.
pay a sewing class forward, basically. So like you would in maybe a coffee shop, we have them here in London quite a bit, buy someone a coffee. So if like a homeless person comes into a coffee shop and wants to have a drink, those that have these things set up, you can buy a drink for someone else, basically.
Yeah.
So this is kind of what I wanted set up with this cafe, that if I ever sort of get that going, I was like, it'd be really cool if people could not only sort of buy a coffee, but also, like pay for someone to get a class in, particularly in a useful skill such as sewing. So that was then when I sort of set that up through my own business anyway, because I'm a social enterprise as well with it.
And that's so kind. I mean, you're not keeping the money.
Thank you.
You're not keeping the money to yourself. I mean, everybody could use with a little bit more money, but no, Claire wants to pay back, like give to someone else, and that's a true show of character. So that's why I also like really I'm a fan of Claire's. It's those little things, because she could give the money for herself. I mean, she could go for travel, get a massage, stuff like that. But no, like pay it forward. I love that initiative. I really, really do. I think it's awesome because people can really, eventually when the pay it forward fund is like bigger, people can actually have the chance to like really learn practical skills that are so important. And
so the idea with it is that they will get half an hour will be paid through the fund, and then I will also donate half an hour from the money, and then I will donate half an hour of my time. So then people get like an hour's lesson, which is what I give for my basic sewing class to people, and it will like go to people that sort of are in the spectrum of sort of they wouldn't be able to, they can't even like afford food kind of thing. But that would benefit from having such a skill.
It's super important.
Either be able to like help themselves and their family through like repairing and stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say like ripped clothes, kids' clothes, stuff like that usually, so many kids like just their ripped clothes, and I'm talking about ripped clothes. I think I could benefit. I just remembered I have to.
That's why you couldn't wear it at the start.
That wasn't on purpose. I just remembered. There was a reason why I didn't want to wear it, but I'm actually glad I did.
It's all right.
Okay, I'm gonna learn.
Yeah,
just so I can get.
I've got a video on hand stitching.
I'm gonna watch Claire's video on hand stitching then. So, yes, go ahead.
But and then obviously then also if they want to use the sort of the skills to then earn themselves some money, then obviously it goes into that thing. I always think sort of you can't. There's no point just giving someone that's poor money. You need to give them the skills to earn that money, because obviously money is finite. So so that's why I kind of feel like it's better to sort of kind of give the actual skill.
Yeah, I think that's really lovely, and that reminds me of one of the topics I really wanted to approach with you, which is your background in your career and what got you into sewing in the first place, which I'm going to take a quick wild guess, but you had a ripped shirt once, you wanted to fix it, and you were like, oh, this is kind of fun. But I'm guessing that's not it. So.
No, nothing like that at all. No, Izzy, I kind of got into it in a weird way. So so fashion as a whole, I got into because during school I loved to draw. Art was like my favourite subject. We only did sewing up until year 9. Otherwise, sewing probably sort of would have been higher up there. But all we did was a tie-dye beanbag, which wasn't very inspiring. But mine was in the shape of a starfish.
It's cute.
So
I love that position.
literally. But yeah, not very inspiring. My mum would always be like, oh, like, you know, sort of, we had to like make our whole PE skirt. Because she was like, you know, she wished that she just had to do the beanbag. And I'm like, Mum, like, I wish I could have done that. Like, that would have been amazing. So I was very into art. And then out of sort of school, because the only prospects they ever put to us was hairdressing. And I did my work experience at hairdressers. Did not go very well.
I can only imagine.
Poured water on someone's face. It was a whole. Yeah. I was like 15, and I just was being shut. Yeah, it just wasn't a good time. I'm a very shy person. Or the army was like the other option. So you know, pick up the prospects in Carlo. So then I left there, and then I went to college, and I did an art and design HND. No, it wasn't even a HND, ND, which is a national diploma.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, that was like from school. So it's sort of like people either go on and do like A levels, or they do something like this, which is like A level is more for academics. So so that was like a 2-year course. And then halfway through this art and design ND, it then became a fine art course. And we were doing everything. We did welding, we did pottery, we did.
I mean, so you learned all these skills.
Literally, so many skills. I've made myself a little chair, which is back at my parents', but it's like a really cool metal zigzag one. Actually, and this I made him.
Wait, can you show it closer? He seems very cute. I want to see him. Wait, more to the to that side. Wait, because you. Yeah. Okay, on the line of the mic. Okay, yeah, closer. Now you can just zoom in. Just get him closer. Oh my gosh! Wait, is it a little piggy?
It's a little devil.
I thought it was a devilish.
He's a devil.
I thought it was a devilish pig.
No, I don't know. He doesn't have an alter ego.
I thought it was like a pig dressed up as as a devil and a clown.
Yeah, because he's got a rounding nose. Yeah, I don't really know what my inspiration was.
But it's so cute. I love, like, it's super like I don't understand much, and that's made out of metal?
No, that is pottery.
But like so you painted it like a metal.
Yeah, in a brown glaze.
Oh, so I love how like it's so smooth, you know, like I'm not a pottery specialist, but I love how the lines are very smooth. It's not, you know, it wouldn't be like me. I would just do a blob. You really work those details, you know, the nose, everything really smooth. I like it.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, so we did that. Yeah, then it developed into like fine art randomly, and we did like more life drawing of these old nude men that farted. So then we did that, and then and I was doing like A level in photography during that time as well. And then for our final project, and during that time as well, I was watching a lot of McQueen and Westwood catwalks, and kind of got very inspired by all that kind of stuff. I love the sort of theatrics of their catwalk shows and the sort of art of it. And then our final project for this sort of fine art course, I made a paper kimono,
Oh.
which I keep meaning to, and I'll have to make a point to do it over this Christmas, to find the photos of it, because there must be photos somewhere. But I made this paper kimono. My aunt, who's married to my mum's brother, is from Hong Kong. So I
Oh.
kind of feel like it was probably sort of a bit inspired by her.
That's really nice.
But also during, whilst I was at school, no, actually, no, it wasn't even during school. No, yeah, since sort of whilst I was at this college, I'd gotten into manga because of a boyfriend I was with at the time. So I was like doing a lot of that sort of drawing. So this paper kimono, I then stuck all these like manga drawings on. And she had this like
It was
amazing,
literally paper?
literally paper.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and it was I must have like tea dyed the paper because it was sort of a sort of browny, sort of off yellow. And yeah, then I did this like amazing umbrella for her. So yeah, so that was like my final project.
Oh, I wish we had a picture to show people.
I know, yeah.
But it's okay. You can,
when I go back home.
yeah, you can send it afterwards, and then like I'll find a way to like upload it to like a public link or something, and then just link it in the description or something. Cause it,
Oh yeah.
or you can like eventually post it like on your shorts or on a video. Like just
Yeah.
post though, or like a slideshow of like some of the projects you did or something like that, and I'll just link it down because people might get curious to see, and I like having that stuff like organized so people can watch back and kind of access it. So and I'm super curious. 'Cause I want to see the paper kimono. That sounds really cool. And out of the box.
I think if anything, I will. If I can't find a photo, I will do a drawing because I can see it in my mind. Like, and this was what I like. 20 years ago, and I can picture it as if it was yesterday. I know exactly how it looked. But yeah, so then after that I was like, didn't really know what I wanted to do necessarily. We had a really enthusiastic teacher who told several of us who were talking about like going to London colleges and things like that, how we would never make it anywhere. And three of us who, one of them I still know, the other girl, recently I've realised that her and her wife have unfriended me for some reason on Facebook, but anyway.
That friend?
This is yeah. Oh yeah. We've not been friends like that for a long time. But yeah, I just recently realised because it was her birthday the other week, and I didn't get a notification on Facebook, so I was like, what's going on? So anyway, us three that I know of are all self-employed, so you know, we're never going to make it anywhere, you know.
Girl
so,
bosses.
Oh well. Exactly. But
haters gonna hate, potatoes gonna potate.
Literally. So then from that, and then like a bunch of them were going to Reading, which is over west from London, and I sort of had never been anywhere by myself, not even like on a holiday away from my parents. So I was just like, I don't know where else I want to go. So I just sort of kind of followed suit, and they did a fashion and textiles course. And the textiles, we had done a bit of screen printing in this art and design course. And I was like, oh, you know, I'll go and do that. Went there for the open day, and they had real clothes on the mannequins. And I remember turning around to my mum and being like, Mum, they make clothes. I don't even know. And it's so funny because I laugh at people now that talk to me like as if like t-shirts grow on a tree or something, and I'm like, yeah, like where else? What else?
Because it's unbelievable when you think about how much work.
I was that person.
Like, when you think about how much work people put into it, it's like so cheap.
Yeah.
you know?
But I just never thought there was a course to make that, because again, like, because when I was at school and we did sewing,
Yeah.
it was just beanbag that we did, you know, like, so I didn't think it was potentially like a thing that they taught. It's
Yeah,
really,
it's
I don't even know what I was quite thinking, but yeah, I just remember being in such awe of like, oh my god, like I can make real clothes. So yeah, so I was quite excited. So it was a women's wear course. So yeah, and then I lived with like two of my friends there, and that was really fun. And I had the best 2 years of being a student of my life. I learnt very little, however, from this course.
I
So
mean,
I sort
don't
of
we all when
got
we're
to
in
like
college? I never heard anyone say, "Whoa, I was in college. I learned so much." I never.
but I was very aware that I was like, my mum and dad was very, well, most of my dad really, it was like helping me out with pay for my like accommodation. Um, and I was just like, whilst I was spending like hundreds of pounds on fabric, being like, oh yeah, I can't afford my rent. Yeah, I got to like halfway
Yeah,
through like
because
the second
fabric is
year, and I was like,
expensive. All the resources, it's like, it's insane.
especially when you're buying silk all the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I
Gets me
mean,
that money quite
what?
quickly.
There's no fun in using like polyester and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. Like, if you're actually gonna put in the hours to
you
make
don't go cheap.
something, like, you know?
But yeah, so I got like halfway through the second year, and I was just like, you know, I'm not. Oh yeah, I just couldn't see like sort of me getting any kind of job after it. And of all the things, pattern making, which is like the first stage before you can sort of sew a garment, you have to have a pattern for said garment. And I kind of liked that, although they didn't help us very much with doing the patterns, sort of like
Yeah.
understanding the process.
And it's
There was something
complicated.
about it kind of,
It's
yeah,
really
there was something
complicated.
about it that sort of clicked with me. The same with like maths, like I never got on with maths.
The same as, sorry,
But
didn't get that.
algebra. Oh, sorry. I didn't get on very well with maths at school. But
Maths?
algebra, math.
Maths. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. You know why?
Sorry,
Because in
it's because
American
I've got
English
a
we say
cold.
math, and I was like, maths? Who's
Oh yeah,
maths?
math.
Who's maths? Is that a
I've got a
person? I don't know.
cold. Yeah. I think it's an American thing. I think they say math.
Math.
We
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
maths.
Maths. Maths.
Yeah,
Even that sounds
which yeah,
better.
my th isn't always the best, but yeah, but algebra always just sort of clicked with me. But I never, when I was at school, I never understood what I would need it for. So again, I just sort of kind of pushed it out. I was like, oh, why does that
Didn't we
matter?
all?
But there was just something about the process that I sort of got. And then, so then when I got to like the pattern making, I was like, oh, this kind of is a bit of an algebra thing, you know, sort of this kind of, all these sort of formulas that go
Yeah.
into making a pattern. And I was like, interesting. So I really like that. But yeah, just like there was just no like one-to-one help of sort of how to progress that. So I left there after the second year, and I took a year out and went travelling, and then came back to like looking at different unis, and was going around with like the London ones with my dad, and they're all sort of going on about however many people sort of go for these courses, and I was like, what do I do? You know, like, I'll never get a job. And he was like, what about menswear? So then I went to Brighton and did menswear, which then sent me down the path to sort of where I've got my business. Though, like coming out of uni, sort of, you're very much set up for being the sort of like this designer, or sort of like having your own label or something. But I never wanted to do that. The pattern making was kind of my sort of love as such. But yeah, it's just so ruthless trying to get a job in the industry. Like you have just so many years of sort of like having done like free work basically, like for work experiences.
Yeah,
So
it's a
yeah, sort of like
very
kind of 2 years.
devalued craft. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
It's really unbelievable.
but that, and also very saturated. Like, there's so many people going for these jobs.
Yeah.
Um, that yeah is sort of, I didn't quite sort of understand kind of how few jobs there would be afterwards. So then so after like 2 years of trying, I got really rejected from Marks and Spencer's, which was a real sort of kind of hard point, because the sort of junior designers really liked me, but it was this sort of woman, I don't know what she was, in the sort of division as such, but she was interviewing me, and she was very ruthless and kind of asking me questions that I didn't really get why I would need to know that as a
Typical
designer.
job
Or like,
interviews.
yeah,
Ugh.
it was like, what would be the most detrimental thing to us on the high street? And I said, if another store did the same stuff for cheaper. And she said, no, it's if a ship carrying the... And I was just like, and I'd worked in retail doing union things,
Yeah.
so I knew how much stock we had in the
Yeah.
store. And then, so it was like sort of 6 weeks worth of stock in the store, and then like however many months in like the warehouse. So I was like, it's not quite the most
I
detrimental,
mean,
because also, I was
and
like,
that was
I'd
just
done my
an
dissertation on
interview?
cotton. Yeah, I'd done my dissertation on cotton, so I was already very aware of like how many clothes there are in the world and things like that. And I was just like,
People have a
Anyway,
weird
then
way to test people's actual skills.
yeah,
Yeah.
literally. And I'd had to do these like design projects for them and everything. And I then realised within 4 or 5 months after that interview, I walked into a Marks and Spencer's with my mum, and they had the shorts that I had designed on the rack. But
No.
what can I do? I can't prove that I was like the first one to design them. I had my sketches, but what does that really prove?
Oh,
So that was like my first like
it's
real look at sort of the dirtiness of the industry,
yeah.
and I was just like, I'm out. I just can't. So that was like my sort of spiral kind of... I had like a couple of years of like real spiral after that, of sort of depression, of sort of where, like comparing myself to like other people from school who maybe had
Yeah.
families and looked like they had their own house and things like that. Anyway,
Yeah, when we
I'm not that
realize
person.
like when we realize that the thing like we're passionate about and like actually want to work on, like it doesn't only take passion and actually willingness to work to actually get the job and stuff. It's so bad. Like it's so bad. I can feel that. I'm not in the, in the fashion industry. I'm more of like in the writing and translation industry, and like realizing that people are like, we don't care about the skill. We just want to get shit done literally. So we're just going to use Google Translate. You're not necessary. It's like, oh, okay. So you don't need like a localization or anything like that. You don't need to adapt to the market. You don't need any of that. You just need to
Exactly.
put the words in another language. Okay, good luck. So
Yeah,
can
and then
can
they only get you
relate.
so far.
It can make us spiral so much, especially when all your like you spend so many years like studying or perfecting a craft.
Yeah.
But now you have your own business.
Yeah,
We
so sorry, I was going to
Yes,
say
go ahead,
that
go ahead.
it's a long way round, but yeah, basically from that, I then sort of carried on in sort of retail until I stumbled across a job for Selfridges that was a tailor fitter.
Mm,
And because I'd been like, I'd been in like sort of management up until then, and I was just like, I need to sort of really get out of this, sort of. I wasn't enjoying my time in retail because, one, I was having to blink in and get so much uniform all the time, which was just against everything that I kind of thought
wait, did you just say
about how I wanted
Blinken?
to go around fashion.
Did you,
Sorry, blinking,
instead
yeah,
of
instead of bloody.
wait, bloody is a bad word? Oh my
That's
god,
my
it's so
mum said it as a
cute.
swear word.
Oh, bloody is a swear word. I'm sorry, Blinken. Okay. I'm sorry I had to interrupt you for this because
I didn't even realise I said it.
so you say
Yeah,
Blinken.
that's
Just
totally my mum coming through. Like anything. She's like, stop swearing. I'm like,
wait,
Mum,
bloody
bloody is not a swear
bloody
word.
is already like a censored version of
Exactly.
FUCKING. I used to be better at spelling bee. But you have a censor word for a censored word.
That's literally.
Okay, I like that though, Blinken.
It's like embedded. I didn't even realise I said
It sounds kind of
that.
gangster though, you know?
That's
Let's
so
get to the
funny.
Blinken
Yeah,
Club.
blinking. Oh
Okay.
dear.
Sorry, I interrupted. I hope you didn't forget what you were saying.
You're right, you're right.
Go ahead.
Um, so, oh, my cheeks hurt now. Um, so I went to Selfridges, and that was like sort of kind of the first sort of stages of my sort of cogs training of sort of how I could go forward. So within like 6 months of me being there, I got a call about this like small business scheme that was happening in Tower Hamlets where I lived. And so this was all 2017. And it was like this sort of startup business scheme, which at the end of it, you could go through to get a grant to start your business. So I went ahead to that. That's where I met said friend who helped me during the lockdown at her place. And she does jewelry. And then I sort of was, first of all, like looking at my business, because for years before that, I had gone through sort of my business being like a bespoke sort of tailoring. So I never wanted to mass make anything, because I've gone through all this. I've done like sort of several different like courses in like sustainability, and I was like, there's enough clothes in the world. So I started out with this business course, being like, right, I'm going to like do this whole sort of bespoke fashion thing. And then when it then got time to like do the business plan and then get the grant, and I was obviously working Selfridges for like a year by then, a year and a half, and I was like, sort of like, I should do alterations, and that's like the perfect thing. So I did that, and I got the grant. So that enabled me to buy my studio, where I still am. And and then where I am is like in a little sort of community near Canning Town. And it sort of is so good, because I got really worried. So like for sort of 2 years before 2019, I was working part-time alongside Selfridges, and then I went and worked at Levi's for a bit as an in-store tailor. And it was just like, really nice, like sort of kind of building up this sort of customer base from like local people
That's really good.
around there. And and then within that, within about sort of 6 months to a year of me being sort of doing the alterations, I then would get people being like, oh, sort of alterations is so expensive, blah, 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 that then I was like, oh, then I will teach you how to do alterations. So then how the classes came out. And then like sort of after lockdown, like the alterations went through the roof. I was really worried that I would not have business, like, because obviously the classes I was doing virtually, but I was barely doing them during lockdown because not many people took them up virtually, because it was kind of hard to do, obviously, from my perspective, and then of people sort of learning as well.
Yeah, because it's so much better to like hands-on and like show the person exactly what you're doing. Totally.
Exactly, yeah. And people that I did have maybe didn't have socket leads or pedal leads and things like that, so it was not really the best. And then I uh, yeah, and then so then I yeah, so sorry.
It's
Then
okay.
when things I'm forgetting where I was going to. Then yeah, once things opened up, oh my god, like I got as more busier than I'd ever even predict, sort of like could have hoped I could have been.
That's really
So then I
good.
always say to people, I'm like the only person ever that was actually happy for the second lockdown, and just because I needed to be told I needed a break. And by that time, I'd gotten my own place. Uh, so it was really nice. So I just like took everything home and sort of and kind of worked on it
Your
there.
own place for the
Um,
studio.
no,
Oh.
no, I had found a little one bed flat
Oh, how nice.
that was like cute. Sadly, it didn't last for very long because 6 months into me being there, the landlord passed away, and the rest of the family didn't want to take it on. After like when I first was there,
Oh.
they were like, "Oh, you know, like 5 years." Like they'd like someone for no, yeah, he passed away. I think it was
Oh.
like in
God.
like 6 months to get out. And yeah,
Oh.
it was really hard
What a
because like I'd gone
bummer.
through this thing of like, oh, like the university sort of kind of like handed this thing to me,
Yeah.
and then it got taken away, and I was like, sorry, universe, like what are you doing?
Look,
Like you
I
can't
can
go and
relate
take that
so
away.
much to you because when I it took me so long to finally get my house and like, get them everything like sorted out. And then when I finally settled, and it was like it had been almost a year since I was there, all that stuff happened and I had to like run away from
Mm,
my own house. So I can
yeah,
I
it's so
can I
hard.
can totally understand. It's like when you think you're finally gonna have like your own little cocoon and stuff, and suddenly you're like, okay, so I'm gonna have to co-live with other people again. So I can totally get it.
Exactly, yeah. Welcome to my world. Yeah, which was like, obviously sort of like the same for you, it was super hard me the thought of going back to like living with people.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so then I yeah, so then after like that sort of second lockdown, I then started employing people because I was so busy, which was really
That's
nice.
so
And then
good.
up until now, I actually do more of the teaching, and my team do all the
Huh.
alterations because the teaching is what brings me more
And
joy
they
out of
say
anything.
that entrepreneurs cannot be successful, huh? Joke's
Yep,
on them. How do you
exactly.
like Claire now? But it's true. Like, and you built it all by
Yeah,
yourself. Like you
yeah,
had a vision
thank
and you
you.
believed in it, and like it's coming. Everything is coming like in place into fruition.
Yeah, 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 definitely. And it's crazy because it's sort of like a lot of people are like, "Oh, did I train in alterations?" And alterations and making are like two very, very different things. And so like even like when I was at Selfridges, like I told sort of the manager there when that was like another like narcissistic story.
Ugh. We'll
Literally, I'm
have
like
you
surrounded
back.
by
We
them,
want to
I
know all the
swear.
stories.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, sort of basically like I said to her, like I didn't know how to alter anything, like botch my own stuff, but like I'm more of a maker. And then that would then be the thing that she would then use against me, plus like other people. Obviously, it wasn't just me that she was picking on. But yeah, of like you told me you could alter stuff, and I was like, no, like you told me that you would train me, like. I always said that I only made stuff. So thankfully, there was a team of like amazing tailors, and they taught me a lot of stuff. And even like whilst I was there, because I was only a fitter, I did like more basic sort of alterations, so like trouser stuff. But then I was able to observe sort of them doing the more sort of complicated stuff. Um, but then out of that, sort of a lot of the alterations is just me sort of self-teaching, basically, sort of exploring garments as they come to me. I do wedding dresses now just because I'm quite good at sort of deconstructing a garment, sort of in a careful way that then I can sort of explore it, but to understand how to get in there. It proves a bit difficult when I'm trying to train sort of team members, because I'm just like, I don't know, just, open it up and see. And they're like, no, like, what's the actual skill?
That's exactly like surgeons learn how to perform surgery. Just open it up. Open it up and see.
Don't have me in the hospital.
And you sew it back together.
Literally. I'm like, if you can't get in with the machine, just hand sew it. It's fine.
But that's awesome. Honestly, like, it's amazing that you learned all these skills. You kind of knew what you wanted to do, regardless of like all these bummers down the road, these bumps of like someone stealing your shorts design and all that. And
I just always had this thing that I wanted to. My always driving force was when I couldn't get into the industry. I was like, if I can't get in, and because like some of my friends were like black, so I sort of had heard stories that they had, not that they were in the same industry, and obviously, and then I'd read stuff about sort of garment workers and things like that, and I was like, if I'm being treated like this, as a white person, from supposedly sort of like middle class, because obviously my mum and dad like sort of own their house and things like that. Not that sort of they were the type of parents to like buy my first car and everything. I had to pay for everything, but it's kind of still under that sort of umbrella. I was like, if I can't get that first foot on the ladder, then how is how is it for anyone? So I was like, if I am going to do something by myself, because basically sort of the short of when I was depressed was the worst point. I was holding my big shears on my arm, crying to myself and telling myself out loud that I was useless and that, sort of no one likes me, because kind of that's how I've always, I've never had sort of the best of friendships, and just sort of like, just really like berating myself of sort of like, who cares if you're here and blah blah blah.
I care, and a lot of people care.
I literally, thank you, but it literally, but I could never go through with it. It was just, I just always held it. Yeah. But it literally, I slapped myself just to get myself out of it, because I was just like, what the fuck are you doing?
I'm like, clapping for you, because you know what? It takes a lot of strength to like snap yourself out of stuff. Like, I'll be honest, sometimes I'm like, and when I'm in a self-pity mode, like, that's why I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to think, what would Claire do?
Yeah, literally, yes. Just
no, because like,
in the nicest
it's so hard to get yourself out of that like spiral. Yeah, I get it. And like, good for you that you were able to.
Yeah, because again, it was just, exactly. Because again, it was just like, it's not like I wanted, it was almost sort of like I realised I was like sort of just wanting attention, and I was just like, what the fuck are you doing? It's a cry for help, I don't know.
Like, it's a
exactly.
I don't think of it as attention. Think of it more as like, when you get so desperate, it's like, it's a cry for help. It's like you just you so desperately want to like feel welcome and like like embraced by someone or people, that I don't think, like, it didn't come from a bad place in your heart. It just came from like feelings of isolation and sadness, and like, don't be ashamed of that. It's not.
No, and I get that. I think that was kind of sort of what helped to like sort of slap me out of it, was this thing of sort of what does it matter? Sort of like, what does it matter what other people think, or sort of don't think, or whatever. And I was like, sort of, if I can't find a job, then I will make the job.
That's
So it's
that's the
sort of like
spirit.
then like sent me down this thing of sort of right, you know, sort of so then I do a business. But again, you know, I don't want to make stuff, but I need to like find whatever this business is going to be. It's going to be something within sort of kind of clothing, because then I've been through this big thing of like sort of not calling it. Like from then on, it was never fashion wasn't what I had sort of grown to love through like McQueen and Westwood, of this sort of art on the catwalk. I was just like, fashion was like a dirty word to me. And so I was like, you know, I want something that will help people get that step up on the ladder. And then also sort of like not add to the sort of millions of clothes already in circulation, and give back. And, you know, and my whole thing has always been, until I did go sort of full time in my business, which I would never go back from. But I do have this thing of sort of, you know, if I could give all my money to projects that was helping people, planet and animals around the world, then, you know, then I would, and I give as much as I can to such projects. Because I just have always sort of, I don't know, just like always had this sort of calling for like helping others. And then someone did my kind of star chart reading. I don't know if you've ever had one of them, but apparently it's been since I was born. This is what I was born to do, apparently. So I try
like,
and
no
sort
one
of
has
keep
ever
that
done mine, but I've like checked out like just very generally, and I think that's gonna be like a subject for another stream, like us just talking
that's
about that
cool.
kind of like intuition and kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's so much like prejudice against you know, all that stuff like tarot, star
Oh
stuff,
yeah, I can show
and
my tarot.
yeah, and like I think there's so much to talk about like in that sense, because it's a tool. It's not like a it can be seen as something mystical, but it's also a tool for your own like subconscious. So,
That's the thing. It
we
depends.
have so much to talk about regarding to
Yeah.
that.
It depends like how much people use it. You know, like sort of it's when like people like you hear these people that sort of like kind of pay so much for like readings and things like that, and like it's meant to like tell you sort of like your next stages.
Yeah.
Whereas sort of that's
It's a
like you say,
tool.
sort of you don't use it like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
you use it as
same.
a general.
And I have a like one other question for you, which is like
Oh
the
yeah.
question that I think most people would also be interested in knowing, maybe because we hear that word ethics and ethical thrown around a lot. In, you know, in the abuse community and the cults community and all that, and sometimes it has like a negative connotation. However, it's not something negative in terms of origin of the word, and in terms of when we're talking about fashion, ethical fashion and ethical tailoring. And I want you, Claire, to tell us what is the ethical of your ethical tailor, like what it means to you.
So I'm laughing because we literally spoke about this morning.
We did.
So my the reason why I call myself the ethical tailor is because I think everything that I do is based on people, planet, and animal welfare. So,
So, sorry, it
do my
froze.
menswear.
It froze.
Oh,
Can you start again from the animal welfare and then forward, because it kind of froze. I don't know if how
okay.
much people got.
Um, people, planet, and animal welfare. So then when I was at Brighton University doing my menswear for my final collection, I did one of my jackets was in leather, and we went to this place, and it was the first time that I'd realised, sort of found out that there's two different types of leather. There is that is byproduct leather, where the animal is also being used for the meat industry. But there is also leather where the animal has solely been killed for the leather itself. And when they do that, they are killed in a far more sort of horrifying way as such, a more brutal way. Sorry, that's a better word. More pain and everything. Because they do it because they want to preserve the leather so much. So that's when they sort of do the kind of electric stuff. Whereas like when it's for meat, it's sort of kind of an instant kill. Whereas like the other way, it's not always that instant. And obviously when animal is sorted for meat, sort of like the way they kill it is just the way that will be the quickest for the to sort of like kill the animal. So they're not thinking about like preserving the leather. So then that's when like you'll get leather that has nicks in and things like that. Sort of, there might be holes or whatever at the end. Which, you know, for me personally, I'm not bothered about that, you know, sort of, because I think that kind of adds to a garment. Especially because like I've always had this thing of sort of one off, and I never liked sort of looking the same as other people. Always very sort of aware of kind of what I'm buying and sort of where
it's
I'm
weird when
buying
it all
from.
looks the same, honestly. I also think
Literally.
so. It's like it's like it was made in a machine or something. Like it doesn't have that like personal touch.
I won't even order the same meal as someone else because I'm just like,
I mean, sometimes
I'm like against being the same.
I will sometimes order the same meal because I get, this is stupid, but I get so anxious to look at the menu, and then I don't know what to decide. So I'm like, then if I'm not like, but usually if I'm like unsure of two and like of between one and the other, and someone else is like happens to pick one of the two that I was like looking at, then I'll probably go through that one because I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna like try something like at least if it's bad, we're just sharing the bad experience of this meal. But that's just because I'm like very indecisive.
Yeah.
But I won't pick something obviously that I don't like. I just don't like looking too much at the menu because it's just like too much information, too many words, too many recipes.
Yeah.
You know.
Too much choice.
Yeah, but I really like that. So the ethical is about taking those things into account.
So I sort of found out about this. So I was like, right. So then, you know, like going forward, like if I ever use sort of leather, then I'm going to make sure that it's this byproduct leather. And then so obviously I've had this thing around sort of not sort of producing. Then I did my dissertation on sort of cotton, so then I found out about the whole sort of organic side and sort of into dyeing and things like that. Colour dyeing.
I was gonna just like tell people it's not dyeing like life, human or whatever. It's just like colors and stuff.
And then also like the garment workers behind the product. So it's always something of sort of representing them and sort of showing them for the worth that they sort of put into the garments as well. So my sort of kind of in terms of sort of like life values as well as I've always been told that sort of you treat people how you would wish to be treated. So that's always kind of within what I do. And then sort of like, so also within the sort of not overproducing, not sending stuff to landfill that could otherwise be recycled.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Either sort of like fully into new cloth or just sort of like kind of made into other things. So I sort of like sometimes I'll make purses and I get these little notebooks covered in fabric. And I have boxes full of all of our offcuts that I either using for things like that,
I love that.
or in my class.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
such a waste. People,
And
when people throw away fabric, I'm
so
like,
yeah, I'm
no, because like
literally,
you can
and
literally use it to mix and
it's to my
match and just do like
detriment
a tote
sometimes.
bag, rock it,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, it's to my detriment because I've just got like so many. I've got all these like jars just with thread where, and this was one of the things that I was doing in lockdown actually, was separating all of the colours into different jars. I literally so much
I
time in
get
my
it.
house.
I get it. I have OCD, so I
And it
get
was all
it.
really nice. Yeah, it was all really nice and pretty. But like, have I done anything with them yet? No, because I was kind of making this whole like weaving thing, and which never went anywhere. Because I don't know
Yet,
anything about
yet,
weaving.
I
Yeah,
believe
yeah,
you're gonna
yeah,
use it
yeah.
one day.
And then yeah, so that and just sort of kind of again going back to the sort of people part of sort of with garment workers is sort of understanding like sort of educating people on sort of like the process behind the garment. So it's sort of, I'm not just a business that is sort of giving back for what I do and making that sort of my good part. I also want to use my business to educate people and how so then they can sort of make kind of better decisions kind of going forward about how they care for their products, where they shop from and things like that. So that's kind of sort of all within that ethics as well of giving people the information so then they can then do what they want with it. Because I mean, there was a long time when I was sort of using that as I need to like shout at everyone and sort of like, you're doing this wrong, blah, blah, blah. And it's since I've
I mean,
sort of backed off
when
from
we
doing
learn
all that
something new like
about
that,
sort
we
of
do
4 years ago.
wanna. I don't blame you, like, because when we learn something new, especially that's like more about like consciousness of certain causes, like that's that's the spirit. Especially when you're passionate about something, it just makes you like want to
I
tell everybody, like stop.
Yeah. And also because like I've sort of known about it like for so long, and then like seeing like that then people have been doing stuff like even like before I was started sort of looking into it. And then I get so frustrated with like these sort of new people that come in and they're like, oh yeah, like we should do this, and and all they want to do is just like talk, and I'm like, just do, just do. That's what we need. We need less talking. We just need the doing. So that was kind of my big thing for a long time. Was just like so like frustrated that just all these people were talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, which again sort of kind of leads me back to the me starting the channel here is sort of I was like I realised that sort of my social media is like continues sort of the people that watch stuff or sort of like stuff are so still like already in my bubble, and I'm like I need to sort of venture out beyond that. So I'm hoping that YouTube will help with that.
That's
But
just to
but
get
yeah,
out of the
and sort
bubble
of
and just get that
yeah.
to the wider audience and just conscialize what? I don't even know how to say that word. Make everyone gain conscious.
Yes, yeah. But what I will say as well, so like people like say sort of like because I'm ethical, does that mean that I'm vegan? Or like because I care about animal welfare, does that mean I'm vegan? And it doesn't. And not that I've got anything against that. I personally don't think that is the way forward for everyone. I know people who which that diet doesn't go well with for their body. So I don't think it's there's only sort of like justifiable reason why again sort of kind of people even within that should be sort of forcing that diet on people.
It's a personal
I think
choice,
it's
and
and I think everything is about
balance.
sort of consumption and kind of sort of sort of shop for what you need regardless
Yeah.
of products, whatever. can in a better way. So, you know, if you can go organic, then do, but research where even it's from organically, because do not just believe the label. Not all organic is better. When you can shop from a local farmer's market, or shop or actual farm, grow your own where possible, and and just kind of sort of, because you'll notice the difference in the taste.
Oh yeah,
So
and
it's
in the
sort of, you know,
color of
if,
the food, and in the size and
yeah,
the shape. Like when you see like
exactly, and that
vegetables,
goes for everything,
like the
fruit,
normal
veg, and
vegetables,
meat.
the ones that don't get
Mm.
picked, like you know the ones just the normal farm vegetables, that the ones that don't get picked because they're pretty and they have that those standards, like in supermarkets, they're beautiful too. They have different shapes and sizes, but they deserve love. They have
Yeah,
nutrients.
I love my wonky veg.
You know, me too. It's like they're unique. You're never gonna have one again that is exactly like that shape. And like with the, for example, I was talking about the color because like I was thinking about eggs. The color, the difference when
Oh
you
yeah,
cook with like homemade eggs and eggs purchased at the
yeah,
supermarket is insane.
so
The
different.
yellow of like a homemade, like a homegrown egg is so beautiful. And like the ones we purchase, and like here in Europe we're actually, it's not that bad, but like in America it's even worse because they look like synthetic
Mm.
eggs, and they sell mostly like the white shell eggs. They're not even like the,
Oh,
yeah, so like,
weird.
yeah, so like everything looked, it's like so synthetic, you know. I mean, it's not synthetic,
Mm.
like it's still egg, but it's just, it's a very big difference when you have one of those eggs and like just a homegrown egg. They're so, it's very different with the taste and everything. And I agree with you talking about like vegan, vegetarian, all that stuff. I think it's about
Mm.
balance. Like I used to eat a lot of meat, and like now I try to, okay, like I'm not gonna eat as much meat, or you know, I'm not a fan of
Yeah.
fish, so that's fine. I don't eat fish pretty much at all, especially because like there's some,
Oh,
I
really?
don't love it. No, I'm not like a big fan. Like I like sushi, but like I don't, I'm not gonna have sushi like every, you know, every week,
No,
every month.
yeah.
But you know, I'm not a big fan of the taste, and also like there's some fishes that like I'm very friendly with, and I can't eat them
Oh,
anymore. Like after I
oh,
watched, like for example, the documentary My Octopus
oh, the
Teacher, I could never, like, I know people are gonna be like, oh, but like farm animals are cute too. Yeah, I know farm animals are cute and lovely and amazing, and they have amazing personalities. Don't guilt me into that. But I can cope without eating octopus and without thinking that I'm eating the octopus teacher. I I can
oh,
cope a little bit with, okay, I'll have a burger, and like, you know, it's okay, as long as like it would be best to know that like obviously the animal had like a happy life and was like at least like in the nature and all that. Like that would make me happier to know that, you know, they were treated good before, you know, any of that other stuff happened. But yeah, I'm laughing because I'm seeing Joe
oh,
Ducepo is here in the chat, and she's like, um, saying that it's funny that I live here in Portugal and don't eat
oh,
fish because, like, you know, the whole thing with cod.
big with fish. Yeah.
um, but yeah, and also like that's like the facts that people don't like talking about much, but um, some studies actually say that like eating only like vegetable or vegan diet does not mean that you're not killing animals, because the fact like to
Mm.
grow, it takes more space in terms of land to grow vegetables than to like, you know, grow animals. And like to grow like the specific like soy stuff, for example, they need to put all these like chemicals in you know, in the soil and like around, which kills animals like insects, rabbits,
Yeah.
all of that. So I don't think it's like, it shouldn't be a competition. I think it should be more of a choice of like a personal choice and a thing of like balance, especially that. Like even if you are a meat eater, like I would rather tell a meat eater, as myself, to like balance out, like not eat it like every day or like every meal, like be balanced about it,
Yeah.
than to tell them don't eat at all. Because like it, not eating it as well is like you're also advocating for all the stuff they're doing to telling someone to stop eating meat is also advocating for the risks of only eating like soy products or whatever. And then eventually, if everybody goes vegan, then there would be a problem because then you would have an oversaturation of people that want, like extra vegetables and extra this and that. And they would eventually be all made in the lab. And then we wouldn't have like all the nutrients.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing.
So it's
And
a
it's
matter of
sort of,
balance. I think
yeah,
you're right
I've been
too.
like listening to a lot more podcasts about sort of regenerative farming as well, because obviously, like the big thing with animals is that they also have to sort of grow the food to feed the animals. Whereas actually, if we just go back to, how things used to be done, and you graze the animals on the empty fields, and then sort of like the year after, then sort of then you start growing the vegetables again, and then every so you sort of do this rotation of kind of fields. And I'm sure that sort of we go back to like sort of small farming, and there will be still like plenty of food for everyone, because have you ever like sort of like the shelves are empty every now and then in like sort of the supermarkets, and people go crazy, but do they actually need anything that day? Like I've gone into like the supermarket, and there might be like little of something. Oh, but then I go around the corner, and then then I could just have something else for dinner. It's sort of like, it's not like we're things are sort of like that bad. There was this whole thing, even like with the war in Russia. Sort of, like there's going to be no wheat, so then we won't be able to have bread. Oh, boo-hoo. So then, we'll go to something else. Sort of like, think about like what your own country can and sort of kind of go with that. Obviously, things are, the most worrying thing is with climate change, and then how the farmers are sort of finding it difficult to keep up with sort of the change in the seasons, and sort of when's best to grow stuff and everything. So that's sort of like the most worrying. But yeah, I just think eat what is best for you. If you want to be vegan, then you want to be vegan. But otherwise, don't beat yourself up about it. Just have a balanced diet. Sort of know when no one should necessarily solely eat vegetables. Sort of like you need to make sure that you're getting a healthy balanced diet, basically. So and whatever that might be for you. But yeah, I just sort of kind of, I think I can be ethical, and I don't need to be a vegan. Basically, that's all.
Same.
All
I mean, I try to be ethical in
I
everything I do, in terms of ethical in terms of like not signing up to things that go against like animal and human rights, welfare, and all that. And
like I'm very big at sort of like looking at makeup. So sort of obviously a lot of what I get now, because I found brands more sort of in the past few years that are more sort of naturally made.
And also
So
learning
then
how to make your own
tested on
stuff.
animals.
I really want to get to learn like how to make like my own like shower gel and like like body wash and all that stuff. I really want to learn that kind of stuff because it's interesting. It's
Clearwater Chad has some good how to make your own soap.
Is it like a trolling video, or is it real?
No. It's a proper video. I can't remember if he does it in one of his characters or not. But basically, he starts with bars of soap, and then he grates them up, and then puts them in dishes, and then makes new soap. Yeah, bless him. But soap is, and things like that is not something that I've kind of gone into learning, just because you
I mean,
know,
I'm
I
super
equally
curious
have this
about
thing
it.
of sort of I can learn how to do everything, and I was doing my own body batting at one point, but I don't know. It then sort of got to sort of a few years ago, and it just never whipped up as nicely. So
Yeah.
I think I found someone to buy from, but then since then she's become this weird sort of conspiracy theorist around the vaccines, and so I had to block her because I was just like, I can't deal with
Yeah.
that.
I mean, I get the
It's such a
like
shame.
making. I would like to learn how to make because, for example, the soaps. They look so cute. Like, I'm serious. People make their own
Yeah,
soap and like they put like flower petals and like all these beautiful things. And the soap looks so beautiful with like those like speckles of nature stuff. I really I really want to learn also because it would make awesome gifts for people. And I'm a
That's
big fan of like handmade gifts. I prefer that so much more than like just people giving like these, like going actually spending money on things. Like stuff made by yourself by you is like so good, so nice. It's like has a little bit of that person in there. It's nice.
yeah.
I really like that. So we
No,
basically
that's
almost
really
did
nice.
like
Yeah,
a
there's
whole. Yeah, sorry.
no, I was just going to say there's a zero waste store near me who they have like soaps like that, so I just buy from them.
Oh, okay.
I've kind of gotten into this thing of sort of, my mum's sort of like forever at me like, oh, you could make that, and I'm like, yes mum, I could,
We could make
but
anything
equally
though.
I like to spend my time doing other things, so I've gotten into this thing of sort of kind of buying from others, but yeah, sort of it would be nice to sort of make that for gifts for other people.
Yeah, that'd be super
I do
nice.
have a candle making kit
Ooh,
because
that's nice too.
I have like so many candles and like empty ones now that sort of that kind of where I've used them like sort of more recently. But yeah, I still haven't even gotten around to doing that yet. So that will be a few years thing.
I mean, we have time, I think, to make all these things, and I think it will be. It's all at least learning. It's always nice to have like a skill like that because like we were going like full circle talking about lockdown again because of the whole like going to the supermarket and not having anything and like. Look, I have so much
Yeah,
trauma with that. Like, I literally couldn't even eat, like, for a while, like, proper food because every time I went to the supermarket to buy stuff only for myself, and, I was living by myself in a freaking village in the middle of nowhere, so I had to drive, like, 30 minutes or more drive. So if I walked, it would be impossible. It would be, like, an hour and a half or so.
yeah,
So I had to drive to go to the supermarket only to get there, and there was, like, no vegetables, no meat. Like, how do you run out of meat? How do you run out of vegetables in a supermarket? And then I wouldn't be able to go back. So at one point I was like, "Oh my god, I'm in trouble because I
yeah.
had
That's
COVID
really
because then I got
harsh.
COVID, so then I wasn't going to like just
Oh
go around. So
gosh.
then I stayed like I had to stay home, but I didn't have any food. And then like there was no one I could ask
Food.
for. And like yeah, and I didn't have anyone to like bring me food. So it was like, shit, like now I'm gonna have to use everything that I have in my small freezer and hope that that lasts until I can go back. And at one point, like, I really didn't have any more food and, like, I had to go. Like, I waited a few days and, like, I had to go. Like, I wore a mask and all that stuff. And, like, I just had to go. Like, I went in an hour that no one was there. I bought my stuff and I went back. I drove back because, I couldn't not eat and there wasn't any help to, like, go get the
Yeah.
groceries for you. So, I mean, you know it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I think we will definitely be chatting again because just this whole stuff
Oh,
about the fashion stuff, all that like ethics about that related to sweatshops, and there's like so much stuff to talk about related to that, and
yeah.
just related to like narcissistic bosses. I'm also quite experienced in that, so um yeah, I think that this will not be, it's the first, but it will not be the last.
Yeah, I've stories for days. Well,
So, but thank you so much for coming. It's getting,
some friends, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for having
it
me.
was so nice having you. Honestly, I love this chat. Like, it wasn't gonna be that long because I know you're running a little bit of a cold there, and you're trying to like.
Yeah, sorry,
But
I
you're
chatted
wearing a
for a long
t-shirt.
time.
I must ask, is the heater on there?
You know what? Actually, it is now. It wasn't earlier. Yeah, it
Oh,
is now.
because like where I live
Yeah.
at the moment, like it's not a thing to just have a heater on all the time. So like there's no heater ever. So it's like
Yeah.
I
My
literally have like gloves here because it gets so cold.
oh
Yeah.
no. Yeah.
But it's yeah.
Yeah, my housemate's been quite generous this year. Last year, I remember it being
Mm.
like really, really cold in this house. That I was like staying at my studio for longer just because it
It's
just
warmer.
never got warm here, and he must have like sort of the temperature thing in his room because there's no way of me like sort of doing it otherwise. If the heater's not on, then it's not
Oh.
on. So yeah, so he's
I'm
clearly
glad it's
feeling more
warm
generous this year.
there. I'm glad because nobody likes the cold for long
No,
term. I like
exactly.
winter, excuse me, but I don't like the cold.
Being cold. Yeah.
Yeah. So
But yeah, and
thanks
that's
for
on
coming.
my
Oh
Christmassy
yeah, please show
dinner
us closer because we really want to see the
in my
ear gear.
PJs.
Show us your earrings closer because they're so cute. We need to see them.
Fabulous
Yes,
issues.
Santa. Oh God, I love
And
that so
this one doesn't
much.
have less.
Wait, I was gonna put you on full screen on my guest.
Thank
Okay,
you.
yeah, I was gonna put you just by yourself on my
Oh,
yeah, on the screen just so we could show it better so people can actually see everything. Show us your
oh
earrings again.
my
They're so
God.
cute. Love. Oh my God, they're so adorable. And whoever doesn't think that's cute, then I don't know, guys. You have bad taste because holiday accessories are the best. Oh my God.
I'll show everyone
They're
the ones that I
so
were gonna get.
adorable, man.
The They're lily hats.
Uh, it's so cute. Well,
Thank
let's.
you.
I'm gonna leave you so you can recover because you're getting a bit
Oh,
of a
bless
cold,
you.
and the holidays are coming, and nobody wants to be sick in the holidays. That sucks. Um. Oh, I thought you were
Cool.
gonna disappear. And so like no camera malfunction today, so I'm very happy that I have not messed up in this stream.
Ah,
So everything has been good. No one had to like be
yeah,
stretched out or
yeah.
cut down. Everything is good. Um, and yeah, thank you
Oh,
so much
lovely.
for coming. And
That's all
I hope
right.
to
Thank
see
you
you
to
soon
everyone in the
here.
chat. I've kind of been looking over every now and then,
Yeah, I didn't like, there's like
but
some interaction and stuff, but like you were talking about your stuff and like, we were having like a silent moment of like just thinking about it. But yes, we can, like, the chat replay will be here, but like a lot of people were like sending hugs to you and stuff and like
aw,
all the love
thank
basically.
you.
So
Oh, I
thank
really
you and
appreciate
I'll see
that.
you soon. Thank you so
Yes, thank you
much.
very
Bye,
much.
everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, I'm gonna pull up the outro. Stay tuned for the next 30 seconds because the outro is really cute. Bye.
Oh, amazing.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.